Evening, everyone, and thank you for joining in on Channel 24 News. I am Mauro Garza with Chapter 12 on The Invisible Man. In this section, the narrator demonstrates the temporary reveal of his life. Throughout this section, the narrator is extremely weak from losing his job, residency, and trying to find a new job. He exposes an impurity after so long. He eats the yams and finally discovers himself. It comes to the biggest revelation of them all. After this, he makes an improved speech for the eviction. He is recognized and offered a job on the spot. Brother Jack has no problem bringing him into the Brotherhood and is willing to give him a new name, which is Booker T. Washington. This is a huge turning point in the narrator's life. His biggest downfall has now become his ultimate salvation. This helps discover who he is and helps discover who he will be in the future. Excuse me a second. This just in. Adriana with Chapter 13, breaking news.
Thank you, Mauro. We have some breaking news. I'm here with Invisible Man, and we are going to discuss about what happened in Chapter 13. In Chapter 13, Invisible Man was walking down the street and he found someone selling yams. These yams sparked a new change in Invisible Man. It makes him admit that he lived a life of conformity and lived with society standards. This sparks a new revival of him being himself and expressing himself. He no longer cared about how people viewed him, so he sat there eating the yams to his liking. The symbol of the veil is being somewhat lifted. As he's walking down the street enjoying the few yams that he bought, he witnesses an elderly couple being evicted out of their home. All the elderly couple wanted to do was pray, and the cops did not want to let them pray, so he spoke up for them. He starts to speak about how he sort of had a change of heart because of the elderly couple. He starts a speech, and the elderly couple is what led to the speech about being law-abiding, slow to anger people, and also dispossessed people in the community. He made his escape from the police by running over a rooftop because they were not too happy with his speech. He then meets Brother Jack and was very intrigued by his speech and offered him a chance to be with the Brotherhood. He denies his speech, but Brother Jack insists anyways to give him a call. That is for now. Thank you. And here's Daniel Quintana with news on Chapter 14 of The Invisible Man. Take it away, Daniel.
Thank you, Adriana. Now, I have some news on Chapter 14. In this chapter, the narrator, the Invisible Man, he accepts a job offer from Brother Jack to join the Brotherhood. He joins only because he saw that Mary, the woman that he was currently residing with, is struggling to maintain her current lifestyle. So, for this fact and only this reason only, he decides to join the Brotherhood. And when he decides to tell this to Brother Jack invites him to a party at the Cathlonian Hotel. It is there where Brother Jack introduces him to members of the Brotherhood, gives him a new identity, and informs him that he will be able to reside with the Brotherhood in their own residence. He also tells him that he needs a new identity, in which he gives him a new name. He also pays him a sum of $300, which at that time was a huge amount of money. He gave him the money to pay off Mary for letting him reside there. When Brother Jack gave the narrator his new identity, he also called him the Booker T. Washington of his time. To be honest, this shocked the narrator very much because he didn't view himself as somebody who had very much influence like Booker T. Washington did. He never thought he would have as much influence as him. The narrator was shocked because of this. As a matter of fact, he thought he was just drunk because everything in the room was spinning around him. And now let's hand it off to Devon to end our news broadcast for the night with info on Chapter 15. Good night.
Thank you, Daniel. I would now like to talk about the last chapter of Invisible Man's life. In this chapter, he is at Mary's house. He finally wakes up after the party and is beginning to leave to his new residence. He lies to Mary about the $100 that he gives her because he doesn't want her to feel bad. that he's found a job and that he's now leaving. On his way to his new residence, he faces harassment and dehumanization when he puts his trash in a lady's trash can, for she says Southern Negroes like him more than the rest of them. And then he faces harassment again from a man who thinks that he was selling drugs and mistaken his bag for a pigeon drop. After this, he finally gets acquainted and he goes to his residence. Tonight, I would like to recap upon Invisible Man's life. A common theme throughout the novel is loss and revival. In this section, the narrator had lost his job, and then was offered a grand opportunity to not only having an elite job, but holding an elite position of a speaker, something which he had longed to do at an early age. This text holds the most significance because it demonstrates how the narrator has reclaimed a temporary identity after a heavy loss. He had been expelled from school, misled by Dr. Bledsoe, and just lost a job. His identity had been taken away from him, and he was on the path of true invisibility. But now he is revived, and this new brotherhood shall illuminate the inner thoughts of the narrator and expose his true invisibility. Thank you, and have a good night.
Thank you, Devon. This is similar to the ABB, the African Blood Brotherhood, which is a radical U.S. Black liberation organization created in New York in the year of 1919. It is a socialist movement against the oppressed racial minority.